This is my theory as to why purity culture cranks out sexual deviance. Number one, most kids growing up in purity culture were not taught about all the bad things you could possibly do. You may have some vague sense of just innate morality that you're not supposed to do things with animals or children or people who aren't consenting, but no one has ever specifically told you that. What does get ground into your brain is not to let your belly button show, not to do sexual things with the opposite gender your age. Sometimes there's a lack of sex education and sometimes there's not. But if two different thoughts pop into your head that excite you, one being the idea of doing something that your parents have told you time and time again is the worst thing you could possibly do as a human being, and the second thought is something that innately you know is wrong, but your parents have never expressed it, and doesn't carry the same level of guilt as the first thing. Which thing do you think is more comfortable to entertain in your head? Which brings me to point number two. Kids are not educated about errant thoughts, and a lot of adults aren't either. I remember being 11 years old, sitting in church, and I know I was 11 because that's the year that I found porn, so I equate everything back to that time period. And I remember just entertaining the most disgusting, sadistic, non-con type thoughts, and I didn't know that those were intrusive thoughts. I entertained them and built upon them because they were exciting, and they didn't carry the same level of guilt that normal teenage girl thoughts would. And if you're 11 and you don't know about errant thoughts and you don't know that you can just dismiss them and say, no, that's not something I feel is right or something I agree with, you internalize it and believe yourself to be a bad person. But the guilt from your innate moral voice is far quieter than the guilt from your parental voice in your head. And I think the logic of the purity culture parents is if we can just stop our kids from hitting first base, the upwards trajectory will just be halted and everything will be okay. But what they don't comprehend is that kids and teenagers may be jumping straight to 6th, 7th, and 8th base that they've never even thought about. So if you find yourself as an adult feeling out of control with the way that you've programmed yourself, I think the first step is forgiving yourself for reacting imperfectly to a really messed up situation. But something can simultaneously be not completely your fault, and you can take accountability for it. I've got the fattest birds in the neighborhood.